folks get. Perfect. Thank you. So first, for folks that are in the customer success side of the house, had a little mini release, but wanted to show you the gear in the upper right-hand corner will now let you, in a shocking turn of events, manage columns like all the other gears do on the VCIO side of the house. But this really lets you grab all of the data and sort and swatch. So now you can rank your segment effort. You can rank by stack alignment score, CSAT, any of your health metrics. So all of the metrics that you have entered in customer detail, you will be able to see and manage columns. So that's in the customer success side of the house. On the VCIO side of the house, again, drum roll or applause for Tim and Mark for getting us these assessments in the platform. So inside manage assessment templates, if by chance you don't see manage assessment templates, it's because you're not a tenant admin. So you'll need to make sure you get somebody on your team to give you access to the template, or they can just import it into the site so you can access it. But I'm going to click on manage assessment templates. And now at the bottom, we have CMMC assessment 2.0, level 1 with scoring instructions, level 2 with scoring instructions. The government is still talking about level 3, but I'm going to go ahead and click into one of these so you can see what we mean by scoring instructions, because a lot of folks do the assessments and haven't entered scoring instructions and explanation remediation tips for themselves. So I want to make sure everybody sees exactly what we're talking about. So when you're in an assessment, inside the template itself, you can expand the properties. So I'm expanding the property and the item itself. So you can see we have, you know, the typical AC.li-3.1.1 authorized access control question. But the scoring instructions have the documentation for where they are linked. Sorry, we have a link to the documentation right from the NIST website. And then we also have the cross-mapping reference pieces along with not applicable, response unknown, unsatisfactory, or satisfactory. So anybody comments, questions, complaints on anything about that? I wouldn't suggest complaints because Mark and Tim put a lot of time into this, and I suspect any complaints should be directed to the government, but I could be wrong. So
I think Mark has the ability to punt you out of this call today, so I wouldn't complain. Yeah.
So I'm glad you asked, Ron. So again, if you go into assessments and hit manage assessment templates in your template library, they're both right here. You will need to go click the import button, which will then move it to your personal templates, and then you'll be able to add an event.
There's two templates. One is level 1, one is level 2, as is obvious to some, maybe not obvious to everyone if you haven't followed CMMC. Level 2 contains everything in level 1 and then some, but because of the way that these are built, we wanted to make sure that there weren't any stragglers or whatever, and that everything just played together really nicely. So depending on your client's obligation, the level of obligation for compliance, that's a mouthful, you would run either level 1 or level 2. Level 1 is the only one you can self-assess to. So level 2, you're obviously going to be starting to do some of that work in preparation for a third party to come in and do the assessment. Did I cover that correctly, Tim?
Yeah, Marnie, I see on your screen, CMMC assessment as provided by Carnegie Mellon. I wonder if you should, if behind the scenes, you can do a review of who has that template in use and send them a note like, yeah, don't use that anymore.
Yeah, so we just pushed the CMMC 2.0 out live today, so we don't want to crash and burn for anybody. But yeah.
Yeah, we can't delete it for anybody, but we definitely need to let everybody know. And actually, Marnie, let's make sure they send out a notification at the top right and maybe a pop-up that says, hey, if you're doing CMMC, we published new templates.
Actually, Tim, thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to delete that now as I import the new one. So that
if you've used it in the past and you need the history, don't delete it.
Yeah,
it probably won't let you delete it.
Understood.
Yep.
update, maybe say archive or ZZZ in the front, something so not to use that one anymore. Yes, absolutely.
I'm still working on Alex and the support team to find a way for us to actually build Spurs scores by scoring each item appropriately with the actual scoring number. But that's a huge support request, and Alex will yell at me for mentioning it. Because they are not a GRC.
Tim, we seem to be losing you. I don't know what happened. Enjoy your weekend. Where did you go?
They are not a GRC platform. Cough, cough, cough.
Correct. Okay. Well, I think that's good news. Again, thanks all for that got that across the line. And then now I want to introduce not her. I mean, I don't know her. I'm going to introduce George from Augment. So here, this is the slide George and I did. What do you mean shadow IT is a problem? So if you did not participate in this, I'm going to quickly say, George cracked me up for a solid 30 minutes on the best shadow IT memes that were available. It was quite entertaining, good learning. But George comes to us from Augment, and we do have an Augment integration. So many of you already know this because the second it was out, we had people putting in support tickets. I'm ready for the Augment integration. So if you are a current Augment user and haven't gotten your Augment integration hooked up, it's tricky. You click on integrations, you click on Augment, and then there will be a button that says request access to Augment. So it is 3 button clicks, but we can do this. And then I'm gonna hold on the reports. I'm going to show you where they exist, but I'm gonna let George talk to us about shadow IT, and then we'll talk about, how's that sound, George? If I
That's good. Yeah, I've got a couple of non-meme slides just to share with everyone, just for a bit of background, and then can certainly hop into the instance of Augment if people haven't seen it before, we can check it out, and then obviously make sure that everyone knows where to find it and how to use it in Lifecycle too. So,
and I'm going to interrupt for a hot second and say I will share out the meme slides, because part of why George put them together is that you can use them for marketing, right? Like they absolutely communicate the pains that your clients are causing themselves and you. And so, humor is always a good way to get attention. So sorry, George, I'll be quiet.
It is. No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right, so give me 1 second here and I will share my screen. And I've only got like 6 or 7 slides to go through.
I thought you were gonna say I've only got like 60 or 70. It'll be
I got about 60 or 70 slides. So there you go. So just for anyone who isn't familiar with Augment and kind of what we do, some fast facts for you here. We were actually started by the same guys who founded Enable, Gavin Garbutt and Derek Belair, back in the early 2000s. We've been in business since 2020. We're a Canadian company based out of Ottawa with about 30 or so employees. And essentially what we're trying to do in a nutshell is be what RMM did for MSPs in the 2000s. Now that we know that everything is moving towards a SaaS-based model, provide a similar type of platform that is specifically built for MSPs and that is specific to cloud applications and SaaS. So the ability for MSPs to monitor, audit, manage, and secure those licenses. We're 100% focused on MSPs, and we also have our SOC 2 compliance, which we're very proud of as well. Okay, so in terms of what we're really trying to help MSPs do and get to the problem of is this idea that SaaS is everywhere, right? SaaS cloud applications, everybody's using them, but the problem is with hybrid work here to stay, no one really knows or understands who's using what and how many applications small to medium businesses are using. Traditionally, people are in the office, they're on the network. RMMs and other tools do a great job of showing you that. But I can see most people now here on the call today are probably working from home. And so, in this modern era, MSPs need some new platforms and tools to help get a better understanding and true visibility into the applications that folks are using. So we kind of talk about how, SaaS is one of the biggest blind spots. I mean, gone are the days where people go to a shop and pick up a box and buy software. Gone are the days when people go to their IT kind of expert or director of IT to ask permission. All you need is a browser and a credit card, and away you go. It's that easy to sign up for any tools that you need. And as we know, there's lots of different SaaS tools out there, everything to help enhance your sales and marketing, to create memes, to manage your customers, anything you want. And I think that's important to note as well, is that, people out there, they're not signing up to SaaS to be malicious. They're doing it because they want to be better at their job, but it is creating sprawl, and it is creating a massive security risk for a lot of businesses, unbeknownst to their CEOs and owners, and unbeknownst to MSPs as well. So this is one of the things I like to show people, is the kind of classic adoption curve. I'm sure some of you are familiar with. I am definitely, when it comes to technology, a laggard. I still don't have an Apple Watch or any cool things like that. For working in tech, I'm actually kind of notoriously a bit of a laggard. But this is what we're seeing in terms of sort of SaaS adoption. Small to medium businesses are using cloud applications to run their business. I mean, Marnie and I, we could start another business tomorrow. Marnie's in the States, I'm in Canada. We can order our laptops off Amazon and then fire up the browser, get all the applications that we need to run the business, and away we go without actually ever being in the same office or being face-to-face together. That's just the truth of the reality of the world that we live in today. The problem that we're seeing is that, for everyone using SaaS, there's still not the significant uptake of sort of SaaS security and management focus within the channel itself. And we understand that that's partly because the platforms and tools haven't been available. And so that's kind of our main mission at Augment, is to provide that comprehensive platform for MSPs to use, so that they can get insight and actually secure and manage the SaaS for their customers. There's some key stats I wanted to highlight, that are all from Gartner. 93% of small to medium businesses have adopted SaaS, so we know everyone's using it. 68% increase in security breaches last year. So we know IT is moving towards the cloud, people using SaaS cloud applications. That's where the hackers are following. And unfortunately, because the good guys haven't caught up to speed with protecting those environments, that's why we're seeing an increase in breaches as well. So massive opportunity. We kind of have that phrase of becoming an early adopter of Augment and SaaS services in general, because this space is only going to get bigger as time goes on. So this is the kind of picture we like to use, the kind of classic iceberg of shadow IT. And this is really some of the questions that, we want to get MSPs asking, when we think, through the QBR process, it's a brilliant place to bring up some of these critical queries is, how many applications are you using? How strong are your security policies? How many duplicate apps do you have? Can you tell me, Mr. Customer? Probably not. They might give you a confused look and say, well, I thought you were doing that, right? And that's something that we've kind of coined the SaaS assumption gap as well, which is this idea that, your customers look to you as their MSP. They pay you month to month. You're their IT expert. Great. You take care of everything, right? Including me signing up to all the bits and pieces that I want to use SaaS wise. Whereas yourself as an MSP, you guys have a pretty clear master services agreement that outlines exactly what you do and the services you provide. And maybe it doesn't include managing, securing, and monitoring all their SaaS applications. So that's a conversation that you want to have with your clients to make sure that they understand that that's not something that you're currently doing, because it's not something that they're currently paying you to do. But you're more than happy to do it, because have a suite of tools that you can use. And if they're willing to kind of go to your new program or however you want to sell that service, it's something that's very easy to do. So the other thing we really want to kind of focus on is, I think a lot of MSPs kind of get overwhelmed a little bit when they think, oh, there's so much SaaS out there, and it doesn't need to be that case. It's the same as traditional IT. You pick your stack or the applications that you want to focus on, and you focus on those, but you have to keep on monitoring on a regular basis to see where people have signed up to new stuff, so that you can either highlight the risk associated to your clients or use that information to say, hey, I know you really love Zoom, but actually everyone's using Teams now, so we can save you some money on licenses there if you want. Kind of just remembering that the information is power, and it's important to kind of have that full visibility into your environment. So in terms of what Augment does very quickly, we've got three main modules: Discover, Engage, and Secure. The one we're going to focus on today is Discover, which is giving you that full list of all SaaS applications. And as Marty mentioned, for any of those folks out there who aren't familiar with Augment or are currently a partner, the great news is that we have a great relationship with Lifecycle, and you can get a full NFR and 100 free licenses to use for free, no strings attached. So you can actually start getting some insight into SaaS, well, your client's SaaS usage today for no cost to yourself, and then start getting that into your Lifecycle Insights portal as well. So I'm just going to drop that link in the chat for anybody who just wants to click on that there. And if folks are interested, I can kind of give you a quick little look at what Augment Discover looks like. Sounds good. All right.
Sign me up. Yes, please.
Interested.
All righty. So let me just get this up and running. Okay, so here is, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
So, okay, so here's what Augment looks like. Augment is the platform, the company, as I said, and within it, we've got three main modules: Secure, Discover, and Engage. So Discover, what we're doing is we have a lightweight agent that you can deploy however you wish. Most people do it through their RMM. We're integrated with all the big ones like your Kaseya, Datto, Ninja, etc. Or you can do it using PowerShell scripts. You can also do it manually if you really want to, but no one obviously really wants to do that.
Does anyone sign up for that one? Never mind, I won't.
Yeah, no one really does that. It is an option if you're a glutton for pain. And what we're doing with Augment is we're essentially parsing out web traffic to look for all of the applications that are being used. We're not really interested in people's personal browsing or if they're looking at any dodgy websites or things. We're really just focused on applications. And we set that against our database of applications that currently has over 23,000 applications there. And so we're able to pull in information on those applications. So giving you a quick tour here, we've got a date filter up here, pretty standard. We can obviously export this information as a nice little report or a CSV or Excel if you want to incorporate it with other sort of, quantitative statistics. And we're obviously multi-tenant too. So you can get your high level view to see all the SaaS usage across your entire IT estate, or we can drill in to our different tenants. And I'm going to pick on healthcare here, our healthcare client. So once we get into the tenant view, we can begin to get a little bit more granular with some of the information that we're seeing. So the first thing we can do is use user filters to actually streamline the report and focus on whether it's the department, the job title, or maybe there's a particular person at one of our client sites that we know is a consistent offender for signing up to unsanctioned applications. We can actually generate a report on them to share with our boss to say, look at Bradley here. He's using all this shadow IT that you didn't know about. You should probably have a conversation with him about why he shouldn't be doing this and kind of take some action there. The second thing is
I assume that Bradley probably works in sales.
Bradley almost definitely works in sales or possibly marketing. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And again, if you haven't seen our memes, we have a couple of memes on that highlight that point very strongly and very well indeed. And it's great for LinkedIn or a little email out to, we love poking fun at the sales and marketing guys. So
Well, they are the ones. They're just trying to get their job done.
Yeah.
And they will just find a productivity tool and say, I'm doing it without going through all the proper steps. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just knew
but it's a really good, it's a really simple but very true case. And I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, the classic one I use is Dropbox. Like I'm trying to share something with someone, whether it's Alex or Marnie, and they don't have access to SharePoint. And then I got to go to my IT director and get that. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to get Dropbox. Here's the file. It's a large file. Go pick it up, right? But that's shadow IT. It's unsanctioned use of applications. And now corporate data is sitting in Dropbox, unbeknownst to our sort of IT directors. The same is true for Bradley in sales, who signs up to this cool new tool on a freemium trial, probably uses his corporate email and the same password that he has for Microsoft. 2 weeks later, that tool sucks. He's not interested, isn't using it anymore. But that data, that information is still sitting there and can be possibly accessed, 6 months later by a bad actor. Okay, they're not really interested in whatever Bradley was doing in that particular application, but maybe they've got those credentials. They're going to try it on 365. Boom, they're in. And again, We have a pretty funny meme where I think a lot of folks at, at the client level think a breach looks like the Death Star exploding, but it's not. It's people, they want to get in there, they want to bury themselves in, and there it is.
I was on that page, so I said I have to pull it up. Sorry, steal the screen back.
So with with regards to Augment, like it's really getting that visibility. And in terms of the filters that we have, so all of our applications come like pre-categorized by approval status, risk score, and productivity. So we've done the hard work of kind of creating default scores for, our 23,000 applications in our database. But of course, you can change those to reflect your own risk tolerance. You can set global rules and then exceptions to those global rules. So that you can kind of build out your custom reports.
So somebody asked me that question the other day when I was talking about Augment. So you do have the ability, like they're a marketing firm, so Facebook way approved, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you can say like for this application, like it's it's disallowed, it's high risk and super unproductive for everyone, apart from these guys who love it and it's actually really good for them. So you can create those global rules and then exceptions to those global rules. Perfect. So coming down here, we actually can begin to see the different applications that are in use. So we've got the application name, category status, etc. And we have these little drop-down menus where you can begin to kind of show me, all the restricted applications that are in use. And it's important to highlight that, within Augment at the minute, whenever we say something's restricted, we're not blocking it. We know that you guys have tools that can already do that, like your RMM or your DNS filters. This is really just about showing you the visibility to say, hey, people shouldn't be using these applications, but they still are, okay? And we can actually, because we have the agent, we can click here on users and actually see who's used it and how often. So, these 4 people are using it, but not too often. Maybe you want to go to something like Teams, because I don't know, maybe in this particular instance, it's they won't focus on Zoom. They don't want people using Teams, but we can see here, Bradley here. Oh, Bradley in sales using Teams.
Shocker.
We also have a details tab where we're able to provide a little bit more additional information on the application itself. So for those really like random, obscure things, you're like, what the heck even is this? You can get the company information, LinkedIn privacy policy, website terms of service, and then you can even add notes, while you kind of conduct your assessment of how you want to actually categorize this application. Is it restricted? Is it unknown? Is it, awaiting for some of your technicians to investigate and decide? So that's kind of Discover in a nutshell. The other 3 things here, we've got the kind of app catalog, which basically is that full big list that you can search for here. And actually, because we're parsing out web traffic, if there's something that isn't in our database, we use Reddit as an example because it's not really a SaaS application. But if there's something random that isn't in our database, it's very easy to add. You just come in here, type it out. You can categorize it immediately or set it up for, to review and then categorize, hit submit, and then that will show up in your reports moving forward and then automatically come through to your lifecycle reports as well. The other thing is we have the ability now to set up alerts, which is a new feature that's rolling out across Augment. So, we can set up different alerts for if there's a new risky app used or how often, and you have the ability to set that up, if you want daily, weekly, monthly, send test emails, etc. So again, just to be notified on specific things that you want to be notified on as and when you need them. So that's it in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions or wants to see anything in a bit more detail, I'm happy to show that. But I'd also love for you guys to see what it actually looks like in Lifecycle and how you can tie the conversation of shadow IT and SaaS sprawl into your kind of QBRs as well. Because I think it kind of unlocks a whole new menu item on your services.
So it's interesting because, all the studies are certainly saying that what is the percent that ransomware attacks are caused by the humans, right? The whole human element. And this is really just a way to further support the conversation around the human cybersecurity, right? So for those of you that weren't on earlier, let me just show again. If you're interested in getting Augment into Lifecycle Insights, if you go to the integrations page and click on Augment, you will see a blue button that says request Augment data to be sent here. That'll just kick off a series of tickets back and forth from our support team to their support team, and then back to you. So you will get a ticket telling you when you're ready to roll. And and it's truly that easy. Then in the more reports, remember we've added some new reports recently under the Augment tile. This will look very familiar, right? So I think it's very easy. It's nice for me to see it in the native tongue, George, but it looks very much like what it looks like here. So I think it's very easy to do the translation. And of course we've life cycled it since we had life cycle flamethrowers earlier we were talking about. We've now made life cycle an adjective and a verb. To life cycle something, Mark has said this before, is to red, yellow, green, and blue it. So you can look at all of those unknowns at once, right? So what haven't we, to George's point, if you've put it out there and said this is unknown for now, and we can go see how many folks are really using this and then using these and then deciding how you want to reset the approval status. Again, risk and productivity scores, numbers of users and visitors right out of the gate. Also, so that's the app summary. And then to George's point, we're going to have to go tattle on Bradley, who probably has access to all kinds of things he shouldn't have. And now you can see by user and you can search. I don't know, is Bradley in my demo site? He's not. So it's probably Carrie that's causing the problem here along the way. So you can see I've got Carrie Blount along the side here, who is, approved, unknown, pending review, et cetera, and how many times. So in this one, AWS Cloud Computing, she's visited 125 times with 22 days active. So exactly what you would expect based on what George showed you in Augment itself. Just like our other reports, download to Word or it can download to CSV. And the other piece is in Report Builder. It is now its own component. So if you just want to add it right in, the same capabilities that work in Report Builder for the other features can work here. So if I'm going to take my template, and at the bottom, I can say I want to add a component. And if you scroll down, there's Augment Templates, and you can add that template to it. And now you can get the report. Again, swatching, sorting, all the usual pieces. You can turn the graph on and the charts on and off so that it's right there in your business review. So what questions do you have for us or for George?
There was one that came through on pricing, Marnie, which I'm happy to answer. So Augment, we don't do, annual or 3-year agreements. It's month-to-month billing. We actually have an offer at the minute where you can get the entire platform and roll this out across all of your clients for around about $300. So, we're talking cents or pennies in my native tongue per user, obviously depending on how many clients you do, but that's kind of our bargain bucket at the minute. You can get not just Discover, but also licenses for Secure and Engage, and happy to show you guys that as well at a separate date as well. But you can get the entire Augment platform for about $300 a month. But yeah, I'd recommend using that link I posted. Get a full free NFR, get a free onboarding call, get some free external licenses. Check it out for yourself and see if it's something that you're interested in. And we can always talk later about what your exact needs are around pricing.
Perfect.
Installation process. So the installation process, we just use, as I said, we have the agent, and most people just either use the PowerShell script or just deploy it silently via RMM. So, we have direct integrations with Datto, Kaseya, Enable, ConnectWise, all those guys, like we're on the Datto.com store, for example. So super simple to, just roll out silently across all your clients and instantly start gathering that SaaS data. The also cool thing about the agent is that we'll actually collect information for, I think, 7 days. So whenever you deploy it, you can let it run for 3 weeks and then have a full month of SaaS usage data to present to your clients.
You got one more there, George. Drew's wondering if it has any ability to in real time either allow access or deny access to certain software.
No, so
based on
not
workstation?
currently. Yeah, in terms of like whenever we around approval, whenever we say something's like restricted, we're not actually physically restricting it, again, because we didn't want to. I mean, it's something we're looking at, and also looking, you know, there's strategic partners that are interested in that as well. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but that was kind of our thinking initially as well. So we know that you guys have, you know, quite the shelf of tools that can take that action in terms of blocking something, whether it's your RMM or a DNS filter type thing. So this is kind of more like your list to be like, okay, I didn't even know folks were even using this stuff. So here's what we're going to go in and block moving forward. The key thing is though, is that, and again, kind of we'll pick on Bradley. If you decide that Bradley should only be using SharePoint to share files, and he's been using Box to, you know, sneakily share files, you can go and block that. And you're like, cool, job done. But then on next month's report, you'll see all of a sudden Bradley is using Dropbox or Google Drive instead. So that's why it's kind of really important to understand, you know, why we need to kind of, because it's so easy to sign up for SaaS. Someone will just find, you know, the next thing that does the job for them, and then you can go and block it with whatever your tool of choice is. But it's certainly something that in the future there may be other mechanisms that you can do it directly from Augment.
And Bradley needs a chat from HR.
Bradley needs a chat as well.
For sure. Any more questions for George or for any of the life cyclers?
They're too busy joking around in the chat. I love it though. I love the chat banter. It's always nice to see guys stick to each other in these types of settings.
We have a good
well.
partner base.
Yeah.
They mostly get along.
Yeah, and for any folks attending, we'll be at Seven Figure next week as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so feel free to swing by and say hello if you have any more.
George said he's buying us all drinks. That's what I heard.
Using Marketopia's credit card. So
Nice. We're drinking whiskey then.
that's it.
I know what those guys charge.
Perfect. We'll have beer koozies for everyone's whiskey bottles then. I don't know how
Right.
that works.
That doesn't work well.
As a matter of fact, I believe there's a panel that you guys are on as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There is, yeah, alongside Breach Secure Now. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great kind of story there. And so, again, we even talked about it on this call without even mentioning those guys. I know you integrate with as well the whole human aspect of it. So if people,
Yeah.
did anyone else see that? The story, I think it might have been Art that posted it, but some poor soul at Cisco got phished and nearly took down the whole thing. I mean, you just feel so bad for those guys when it happens,
Yeah.
right? We actually had there's a friend of mine at a different company, same thing, just started, and got an email from the CEO saying to go and buy a bunch of gift cards and ask finance for credit card details to go and do that. So, you know, it's so important to have that training, have access to what people are using, and then being able to present it right to the end users on that kind of QBR basis and say, guys, got some work to do here.
You're humans. Perfect. And Kirk's already on a trial. Perfect.
Love it.
Like coming to find your prospects where they're at. Right smack in the middle of a trial.
Awesome.
Kirk, unfortunately, doesn't actually do any work. He just hangs out here and gives me a hard time. So you're gonna have to talk to the team to find out whether or not the product is up to snuff.
I like that. The guys know.
All right. Well,
Thanks
then
so much for
I
having me
say,
on, guys.
oh, thanks for joining us for sure. I don't know if you know that George's webinar secret is he only does them for 30 minutes. So I knew for a fact that we were not going to
be done.
have a full hour.
Well, I'm just going to end with this then. If you're anywhere near Charlotte next week, find an excuse to come hang out with us. Come to Chris Weiser's gig. Come to the bar afterwards. Come find us. We're bringing the whole crew, and George will be there with us. It's going to be a good time. So if you guys are out and about anywhere near Charlotte next week, look us up and come find us.
Absolutely.
Work hard and then find ourselves some trouble.
Sounds like a plan.
It's like, you know, the folks in the chat. All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Thanks so much, George. Have a good
You're welcome, Marie. Thanks, Marnie. Thanks, Alex.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, y'all, very much.